Let's look at the etymology of the word slave. Because, like I said, whenever you show the truth about black people, their catchword is always slave. They don't have to have any truth or facts, and they never can back it up. But they just, to them, it's a plausible explanation. Okay, this is one of my videos entitled "The Originals, All Original Slaves Were White People 100%." And as usual, there's always people that come on my videos and they try to be detractors. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with contrarian thoughts or views. But astoundingly, they seem to always have one thing in common. One is they can never, ever back up or support what they say with any credible sources or evidence. They just make a statement because I'm saying something that is contrary to what they have been taught or what they think or what they want to believe. And in many cases, they have not been taught anything at all. They just think that it's safe to just say you're wrong, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, but they can never offer a credible challenge to the points that are being made. Unlike them, I always provide sources. So what I decided to do with this particular detractor is make a short video to basically respond to their statement. The SebTube 12 said about 40 minutes ago, "You must have been high as a satellite when you came to these conclusions. Total nonsense to anyone that knows anything about Slavic history or history in general. Good luck with this false theory of yours." In other words, I'm creating a false theory, and I've reached some conclusion based on a false theory. And it's total nonsense to anyone that knows anything about Slavic history or history in general. So, I'm just a black man. I'm ignorant. What could I possibly know? Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to play a little bit more of this video so we can... There were black people present. They were present as slaves, owned by white people, of course. Now let's look at the word slave. It comes from the 13th century. Now you see, the first thing I do is I use a reference source, which is the online etymology dictionary. Okay. Now if I wanted to, I could find about 24 various dictionaries that all present the same information about the etymology of the word slave. That means the root and the origins of the word, breaking it down to its root and its original meaning. I could find numerous sources that all say the same thing about the origin of the word slave, and it always goes back to white Slavic people in Europe. But he's saying that I must have been high when I came to these conclusions, and it's total nonsense to anyone that knows anything about Slavic history or history in general. So unlike my detractors, my Eurocentric detractors, I always give you credible sources, and you can decide for yourself what you want to believe. Someone who just postulates an ideal and states an ideology but never backs it up or supports it, such as the SebTube 12, or someone who provides sources. See, the difference between me and him and most of my detractors is that I don't want you to decide between believing what I say and believing what a detractor says. I want you to decide between the credibility of the source that I provide and the credibility of the source that they never do provide. So it's not a question of believing me or believing them. It's a question of believing the source or believing someone who never ever presents the source. And that's what my detractors do. So we're going to go to another video by a man named Dr. Vladimir Rus. Okay, let's see what he has to say about this.
In my hometown, even some the kids that go together, they would call it chattel. That was the usual term for Slav. Now, in the dialect, chattel means slave. Okay?
Okay, let me stop.
Never mind, on the Croatian side, when I was in school coming from Italy, they called me Italianac, which means that they're Italian.
Okay, I'm going to play that again because it's a little bit difficult to hear exactly what he's saying. And he's telling you about the origin of the word slave, taking it back to Slavic people. Let's listen to this again. He's going to expound on it a bit as well.
Chattel means slave. The dialect, chattel means slave. Okay?
Shava means slave.
Never mind, on the Croatian side, when I was in school coming from Italy, they called me Italianac, which means that they're Italian. But the river is Schiavoni, right? Venice, in the Middle Ages used to be one of the largest slave markets in Europe. And most of the slaves, Venice in the Middle Ages used to be one of the largest slave markets in Europe. And most of the slaves were coming from the Eastern Slavic countries.
Did you hear what he just said? Venice was one of the largest slave markets in Eastern Europe, and most of the slaves came from the Eastern Slavic countries. But according to this genius here, the Septu 12, let's read it again. Total nonsense to anyone that knows anything about Slavic history or history in general. In a moment, I'm going to let you know who Dr. Vladimir Rus is, because, again, my detractor is not really disparaging me. He's disparaging the numerous sources which all say the same thing. In this case, on the video, I use the online etymology dictionary. He's disparaging Dr. Vladimir Rus and all of the other people who do know something about history in general and Slavic history. Now wait till I show you exactly who this gentleman is, if you don't already know. So let's continue.
They're Italian. But the river in Schiavoni, Venice in the Middle Ages used to be one of the largest slave markets in Europe. And most of the slaves were coming from the Eastern Slavic countries. So the Venetians that were involved very much in transportation, the ships and so on, along the pier, they call the river degli Schiavoni because they were unloading slaves there.
So is that the origin of the word slave?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, that's part of that misinformation.
Did you hear what he just said? Is that the origin of the word slave? He said, yes, absolutely. Now, let's take a look and see who this gentleman actually is. Now, wouldn't you think that a man who is of Slavic descent himself, a Slavic person, would know, possibly, especially when he has a PhD in these things, that he would know, or at least have a clue, or at least, contrary to what the Septu 12 says, know something about Slavic history or history in general, being that he is Slavic himself? Wouldn't you think so? Let's see. Dr. Vladimir, at the age of 86, Levittown, New York, on June 11, 2013, was born in Czechoslovakia. He immigrated to Italy in 1948. He came to the United States in 1950, etc., etc., etc. Let's see. Dr. Rus earned his PhD in German literature at NYU in 1963. He taught at Great Neck South SHS for over 30 years until retiring in 1996. He chaired the language department and taught Latin, English, German, Russian, and French. Okay? This man has taught 5 languages, and he chaired the language department. So I think he knows a little bit about the origin and the etymology of words, Mr. Septube 12. But according to you, it's total nonsense, what he and I are saying, to anyone that knows anything about Slavic history or history in general. Okay. He later taught Latin at the Wheatley School. He published translations of German and Russian poetry. Dr. Rus was a member of LPOA for 30 years and the trustee of Levittown Public Library for 10 years. Okay. You know, I don't believe in beating a dead horse. Once the horse is dead, you can stop beating it and it's time to bury it. So I've made my point, beat the horse to death, and there you have it. And, you know, I just may do this in the future with some of the detractors because it's so annoying. And the thing that's annoying about it is that I'm honestly thinking oftentimes, where the hell do these people come from? I mean, why do you pretend that you have a clue as to what you're talking about when you obviously don't? I mean, if you cannot offer a credible a challenge to the facts, if you cannot offer a credible debate, it's probably best if you just remain silent. It's probably best if you don't say anything. Because this is what may happen to you.
I'm going to discredit you and what you have said, and hopefully people will remember you when they see your screen name and your avatar. Okay? So anyway, the horse has been beaten. It's time to bury it. We're going to move on.